Discord. All right, what's going on? This is a Independent Freedom podcast. Here, I talk about cool things that I see people are doing that aren't always traditional, pretty unique. And I'm here with Chika, who's an awesome investor trader, and she's gonna talk and introduce to us about how she got into it in her business. So what's going on, Chika?
Hey. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Yeah, could you just tell us a little bit of like what you do when it comes to trading? Because some people might not know what trading is.
Yeah, sure. So trading is basically just buying, selling stock or other types of investment vehicles. So a lot of people are into forex right now. So you're just buying products, buying shares in a company or buying pieces on an exchange rate, and you're selling it back at a profit. And so that's exactly what I do. And I am an options trader. I do actually do stock options, binary options, looking at forex now.
Okay.
But I don't like to give myself too much. I like to keep it simple, and I've done pretty well with stock options and binary options. So I'm still
okay. So I didn't know you did binary options. Like I've heard some a lot of oh, it's so hard or whatever. So that's interesting. I'll ask you some more stuff about that. How is binary options?
Sorry, you were frozen for a second. I couldn't see you.
Oh no, I was saying, how is binary options?
A lot of people have never heard of binary options, but I like to call it like the stepchild. Because once upon a time, people thought binary options was like gambling because it was like a yes or no type of trading tool. But recently, people have become very interested in short-term trading, and binaries are short-term, which means that your position, if you buy something, you have to sell it within minutes. Sometimes it's 1 minute, sometimes 5 minutes, 20 minutes, so on and so forth. So it's very different from traditional trading because traditional stock trading doesn't require you to get rid of it within a certain amount of time.
Okay.
Binary do, and they're basically like options on forex. So it's like a little subset of forex. So people are really into trading on the exchange rate between the US dollar and the Japanese yen, for example, their currency pairs. Well, the binary option is a contract that allows you to, in essence, buy a certain amount of those particular moves or investment vehicles. And what you're doing is you're paying a premium to own that contract. And what people do is they'll sell that premium at a profit.
Okay.
That's different from forex. So with forex, you're actually selling the product. With binary options, you're selling the contract based on a premium.
Okay. I see. Okay, I see what you're saying. So just curious, let's break it down. So how did you get into trading? Yeah, I was just saying, how did you get into options?
So a couple things happened. It was a progressive thing. I started in 2014 with stock, and then sometime, I think it was 2017. 2017 is when I really just hit the ground running with options. And really it was just mentors. Mentors got me started, and I was fortunate enough to learn from some really talented people where I used to work, which I used to work at Shell Trading. So there were a couple of really talented guys within the organization that just kind of took me under their wing and showed me the ropes. And I say that all the time, that if you can learn with the mentor, learn with the mentor, because that made all the difference for me. I can't imagine people now trying to get on YouTube and follow along with these videos and learn through that, because if I had to do that, I don't think I would have been successful. So I just was very fortunate that I had some amazing mentors.
So was it difficult learning options?
Well, it wasn't that it was difficult. It just took time. So I don't think that trading and investing is difficult. it's never going to be the actual act of trading that's bad for you. It's the psychology behind it. The psychology behind it and learning the technical analysis tools were the most challenging parts. Technical analysis, you can learn if someone shows you, but mastering those emotions when you get in there is what eats you up every time, because you get killed with the FOMO trying to like get in there and make money, and then you make mistakes, or you make a mistake and then you compound by putting more money in trying to get your money back, or you jump out too early when you shouldn't because you're not trusting your analysis. So it's really the psychology behind it and the emotions that make it difficult if you haven't mastered that part, which is why I say like get a mentor, because if you're trying to do it by yourself, I guarantee you, you're going to struggle with the psychology part.
Okay, I see. Now you kept talking about like technical analysis. So like you're like was it like, because I hear there's like two types of trader, like technical and like fundamental trader. You're more of a technical trader?
So I'm both. I use a combination of both. Yeah, I do, because I swing trade, and I also do something called scalping, which is like taking your money short term. So like within minutes, within like hours, you take your money. Swing traders like to hold on to things for more like days, months, weeks, so on and so forth. So I like to use a combination of both, because, you know, say for example, Amazon. Amazon is one of those stock that just moves like crazy when it does move.
Okay.
And so if you're trading with charts, it's real easy with Amazon to scalp money off of it. So like just get some short-term gains. But if I'm looking at something that I want to trade long-term that may play out in the next 3 to 6 months or a year, I will look at fundamentals to see if it's a strong offering, to see what their earnings are like, and make a decision that way. So it just depends on what my game plan is, or like what my end game is.
Okay, I see. All right, cool. So like, can you explain like to people like what like technical analysis is?
Okay, so here's the thing with technical analysis. I love using it, and when I explain it to people, I like to bring it down to its simplest forms and use examples of what people can relate to their lives. Technical analysis can be as complicated as they can make. Like they make it so much more complicated than it really is. And so it's basically a set of tools called indicators. And the indicators kind of give you a pulse on the market based on things like momentum. Like, is this stock moving a lot very quickly? Volatility, is this going up and down? Or is it kind of moving steadily? They give you things like range. So like how high can this go? How low can this go? Where are the points where there's a lot of supply and demand, or there may be like a price war? So those indicators, they come out looking like all these squiggly lines, and like they're on a chart, and then you have like candlesticks which show you, some of them show you price movement. But when you look at it all together, they can serve as like confirmation entry or exit entry. So looking at 3 different indicators can give you triple confirmation that this is a good entry, or they can give you confirmation that it's time for me to get out of this and sell my position before it turns. So it's really about painting this picture of, what is the stock doing? What is it? What could it possibly do within the next few minutes, hours, months, days? And most of them tell you pretty much the same thing. How high is this going to go? How low is this going to go? Are people buying it right now? Are people selling it right now? Is there a lot of supply? Is there a lot of demand? Those are the main things that indicators will tell you.
Okay.
And so it's just like, you just got to devote the time to learning what each one means and how to use them.
So pretty much you think people like use too many tools but don't really understand what they're doing?
I think there's a couple things that happen. I think people can get really obsessed with looking at like the patterns, and they have a whole bunch of indicators, like you said. But really, I think the more complicated you make it, the more confused you make yourself. And trading is about being decisive. And sometimes when you have too many tools at your disposal, you can be indecisive because you just have too much noise. So I think like with technicals, the best thing to do is find 2, 3 indicators that work really well for you, And that's it. Keep it simple. I like to keep it simple. I think another thing that kills people with technicals is they get so like wrapped up in following every tick of what it's doing, like every second, every 3 seconds, and they freak themselves out because you're like watching like this. When really like sometimes it helps to like just step back, stop looking at each individual minute and look at what has this done over the last year? What has this done over the last 6 months? Because that's going to be a more accurate picture if you're going to be a successful swing trader.
Okay, I see. Now, what do you think is the biggest loss that you experienced? What's the biggest loss that you experienced?
Oh, at one time, my biggest loss at one time was like, I think it was like 3,600 that I lost on one trade.
Oh, wow.
And that killed me because the very next day, it did exactly what I wanted it to do.
Ooh.
And I ended up taking that like $3,600 loss, where if I had stayed in and just trusted my analysis, I would have had an $8,000 gain.
Ooh, wow.
So that was painful. And that's what I mean by the psychology. The psychology will scare you, get out. And then what you said was going to happen because your technicals are solid actually happens. And then you're mad because it's like, I wish I would have, listened. So psychology and trading is super important to avoid mistakes like that. But I mean, once you make a mistake like that, it's real hard to make it again.
Okay. I see. So like, would you say that, have you ever had like losing months or just a couple weeks losses?
Oh yeah. So I think like there's this misconception that there are people who don't lose money. That is not true at all. Everybody loses money. Like people lie if they say they lose all the time. What the key is though is like, do you lose more than you gain? Right. So like I can make 20,000. Like I've had months where I made $20,000 and then lost 13. That's not going to help me very much because I lost 13. So I came out with 7, which is okay, but that tells me that I need to do better with like my loss mitigation strategy because everyone's going to lose. The thing is, what do you do when you lose? Do you have a plan, a clear exit strategy so that you don't lose everything? It's one of those things that like everybody has to master. Like, what's your sweet spot? You know, it's really just about like how much are you willing to lose. But the good news is losing gains is a lot better than losing your capital because if I put in $3,000 to make that 20 and I lost 13, I'm losing 13,000 in gains, right? So I still have my initial 3,000 that I put in. And that's kind of like the give and take, right? The give and take. But you definitely want to, there are ways that you can like meter your losses. But usually when I have big losses like that, it's because I was either being sloppy and being emotional. So that psychology thing comes into play big time.
I see. I'll say, okay, so you said like being like sloppy and being emotional. It's like, and it's so like, it's like you kind of learn from your losses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Exactly. Another thing too, like people don't practice. Like they have demo accounts. Some of the brokerages will offer you demo accounts, paper trading accounts. It's so important to practice because if you don't practice and you jump in live, you lose your money, like playing around. Right? So that's another thing too.
So can you like explain like what the difference between like a demo and live account is?
Yeah. So a demo account is where a brokerage would give you like play funds and put you in a practice environment so that you can trade along with the market and trade as if you would in real life, but there's no real risk because you're trading like fake money. It's not, you're not trading money, but it gives you a good opportunity to see, okay, if I was in this situation, what would I do? So you had $10,000. How much would I risk? Which ones would I get into? How much could I potentially make from this before you actually go in with your real money and risk it?
Okay, I see. So I know another misconception that people think, well, I know a lot of people think this, I keep hearing it's a misconception, that you have to quit your 9 to 5 in order to be a trader.
No. That is a big misconception. You don't know. Like I know so many people who like they trade supplementally, you know. It's just really another source of income. I know a woman who is just like, I just want to pay my car note every month with this, and that's what she does. She makes enough to pay her car note every month, and that's it. And so there's different forms of trading. Like if you want to do stock and options, they have after hours trading. They have like pre-market trading that you can do. Binary options is actually 23 hours a day. So, you know, you could get off at 5 and go right into trading until 2 in the morning if you want to. So it just depends on your schedule. Like what does your schedule allow? And that's how you tweak it.
I see. So are you full time with it?
So I have a business that I run and I trade my platform called Tawt. So I do that full time.
Okay.
I also trade, but not as much as I do when I'm not busy. So like depending on how busy I am with my business and other work, like I will trade more. If I'm super busy, then I'll trade less. But the way that I do it is like I'll scout more. So I'll do more that I can watch during the day when I'm not busy. When I am busy, I'll get into more long-term things that I don't have to watch that much.
Okay. Okay. So it's like you're pretty much saying like there's a lot of opportunity like in the market where you can kind of be flexible with your schedule.
Absolutely. Because if I couldn't be flexible, I wouldn't be doing it because I would never. Trading and investing are really good tools to grow your net worth for sure. But for me, I've always been a diversified type of person. So I have multiple streams and I like to keep multiple streams. And I've always wanted to do business in different areas. And so trading was never going to be my only thing, my only source.
Okay. So because like a lot of people have this idea that like you're on the charts 24/7, like you can't like leave the charts.
No, that's not true. So there are things called alerts, and brokerages will give you like the option to put in some parameters where you can either have like a stop loss, and the stop loss will kick you out after a certain amount. Like if you go too low, it'll kick you out so that you don't lose too much money. Or you can set alerts, and the alerts will go off when something hits a certain price. And so that'll be like your alert. Okay, now it's time to go look. So I don't watch the charts all day unless I'm in there trying to scout by the minute. And when I say scout, that means I got in at 9:05 and I'm trying to get out at 9:15. So I'm watching, right? But I have stuff that I'm sitting on until next year.
Okay. Wow. So it sounds like you got like different strategies for different purposes.
Right, for different purposes. And it's all about your own personal cocktail and what works for you.
I see. And that's what something I think a lot of people like are afraid of when it comes to trading investing. They feel like, oh, like they gotta work with whatever is given to them, and like you say, you know, it fits your schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. Now, would you say that like what would it be advice for a person who's trying to get into it?
Number one, find a mentor. And I'm just saying that because there are free resources out there for sure. Definitely like do that and read but do that as a base so that you can kind of understand the concepts. Don't do that and then go play with your real money. Find a mentor that will help you save you a lot of headaches. And there are a lot of people out there. I know there are some people charging like crazy amounts of money, but there are also some affordable people out there. And I think there are some free people out there from what I've been seeing lately. So find somebody that you can shadow that can kind of show you the ropes in real time, because then you can ask questions. You have a support group, and that's so important because if you don't have like a support system, you run into a problem and you quit, right? So if you really want to be successful at it, definitely like get a mentor because that's key. The second thing is I touched on before is, YouTube, I like a few of these like course platforms will have like free things that you can get. Those are great for foundations, great to kind of get you in the door and then even decide, okay, is this something I actually want to learn before you then spend money on a mentor. So definitely like do your research that way. And if you decide that trading is just not for you because it does require you to be able to take on more risk than than most other investment vehicles, then it's okay to step back and say, okay, I don't think I want to trade, but I do want to find ways to invest and put your money into things that are more like passive. You have to really watch or invest too much time in. There's some really great tools and apps like Stash, uh, Acorns. Those are great for people who are trying to like get started investing and like don't have a lot of money and don't have a lot of knowledge. And so they allow you to, I think Acorns allows you to invest your spare change. It like rounds your purchases up to the nearest dollar and puts a change in a fund for you. Stash allows you to do like group funds. So like you can pick cannabis funds, you can pick real estate, you can pick companies that are socially responsible or like eco-friendly companies. So those types of tools allow people who don't have a lot of knowledge to start like maybe investing in things that they're interested
Okay. That's pretty informative. Now, like, I mean, can you like talk about like your business? I know like you got into you teach it as well, right?
Yeah, so I am the CEO and founder of Tawt, and Tawt is a platform, it's a marketplace for traders and investors. And so you can go on Tawt and search the marketplace for books, ebooks, regular books, programs, classes, live events, webinars, talks on trading and investing from different teachers, different gurus, different companies. And the great thing about Tawt is that you can actually use the smart filters to narrow down, like, I only have $100 to spend. So it'll show you like all of the offerings that are within your price range. You can search by rating so that you can see, okay, this instructor was rated really high versus this one. And it's just a really great comparison tool for you because like if even if you learn better in person or you learn better online self-paced, you can search by that so that you can filter down to what might be your personal cocktail
I think
and
that's
what you learn.
I think that's pretty awesome. Like how did you come up with this idea?
Okay, so it just came from being a trader. When I was looking at my mentors and like they kind of like moved on. I mean, I still talk to them, but they've moved on and I wanted more education. It was like, okay, I'm searching and there are hundreds of people out here like ready to take my money to teach me, but how do I know whether they're good or not? How do I search all these hundreds of people and see who's cheaper? Like I don't have $18,000 to pay this one lady that seems really good on Instagram, or this one guy. How do I even like check to see if he actually works? How do I see if like he has other things that may be cheaper for me? How do I see if maybe someone else offers what he has, but more in my price range? Or maybe I don't want to learn through webinar. Maybe I want to do something that's like an online course that I can do in my spare time little by little. So I mean, it was just all these questions that I had, like, and trying to go through all of these people because you just Google, it pops up 50,000 people. So it was just the need to like make things easier for people who wanted to learn. Really, that's where it came from.
Okay. So like how'd you get started with it? Because I think that's like, was it hard to get started? And like how much time did it take to get into it?
To get into trading or to build a business?
To build that business.
Oh man. So that actually like started in April 2019. So I like did it little by little. It was really just I started with, okay, let me just do an email list to see if there are people who were interested, right? And I got a lot of people interested. So I was like, okay, well, let me take it a step further and just put out a little course and see how many people are interested. And that course like came through and like people were super interested in learning. And then Robinhood came out and with a bang, just like really got popular. Like it's been out, but it really got popular like 2019, And all of a sudden, all these people are interested in learning. Everybody wants to do it as a side hustle. Everybody's like, it's just booming. People are trading like crazy. And with that, I started to see that, okay, there are tons of people who have knowledge, tons of people who want to share that knowledge. And I was like, okay, well, let me see like what's out there. What can I learn from? And then it was like, this process is cumbersome. Let me add an extra layer. So it just grew. Like it wasn't an overnight thing. It just really like, as I ran into a roadblock, how do I solve it? Roadblock, how do I solve it? And I just added those components. And so now we're in the middle of a relaunch. And so the official launch, as we round out beta testing for the new platform, will be November 30th, just Cyber Monday. I'm super excited about that.
November 30th, you said?
November 30th, Cyber Monday.
Okay, cool. November 30th, Cyber Monday. That's pretty cool. And so like I were you surprised to see the growth that it had?
You know, I think I have unrealistic expectations, which is why I'm a trader. Because I was in that. It took a while for me to really bring this from, this is something I think will work, to, is this a viable business? And it grew slower than what I wanted it to grow, because I think putting something out there when there's a lot of interest, you expect this viral like thing to happen immediately because, oh, this is out there. But the process of honing this down like to an actual business, and just the day-to-day operations and the customer journey and all the components that went into making this happen, really taught me that nothing is an overnight success. Nothing grows quickly. Like it doesn't. It takes a lot of work behind the scenes. And so I have learned from this process, and this isn't the first company that I founded, but definitely the biggest challenge, definitely the one that took me the most work, the most thought. But the journey has just taught me that there's no such thing as quick growth, right? There's growth. And my expectations have changed, and I'm less focused on how many people, and more about the impact, more about the return usage, more about retention. And so when I look at growth now, I'm no longer concerned with, did a bunch of people use it? Did it grow fast? It's not like that at all. It's not like that at all. So I'm not surprised with the direction that it's gone in and with the number of users. I just think I'm very aware that growth comes in different forms, and and having a business that is sustainable and stands the test of time is, it takes more than just this grew overnight or grew really fast and people were using it quickly,
Because I feel like now with how social media, it makes everything think everything is instantaneous. So with you talking about that, that's good. About like how it grew over time. It wasn't like just instantaneous. And I was saying, but it's kind of interesting because like social media makes it show that everything is instantaneous and everything. So it's kind of good to hear your side. Like it's not easy.
Yeah,
it's grind.
yeah. It's not something that is I know like it takes 10 years for an overnight success to happen, is what I heard. And
Wow.
I mean, I think that, yeah, there are a lot of things that are like instant gratification, but for the most part, those businesses that stand the test of time are things that were, slowly cooked and like well thought out. And like I said, it's not the first business that I started. I've had businesses that did well and had businesses that failed. And I think the recurring theme with the businesses that failed was definitely that the thought wasn't there. The thought process, the proper vetting, the actual like baby steps that are needed to build it weren't there. I just took an idea, oh, this is a great idea, ran with it, and didn't exactly focus on how to make this into a business.
Okay, that's good. And it's just something like, okay, you saw a need and you tried to provide a solution.
Right, but didn't have the framework to actually pull it off well.
Yeah.
And I think another thing that people like to say is, build your parachute on the way down, and figure it out as you go, which I think it's a great concept. However, you do have to make sure that you have the tools before you jump off of the plane. Because I think what happens is we get so focused on build a parachute on the way down, but did you actually have everything you needed before you jump so that you could build before you hit the floor? You know, that's the biggest thing that I like to combat people with when they tell me that, because I think it's definitely get out there, put your product out there, try, fail fast, fail early, but just make sure you have those fundamentals before you get people to do it.
Okay, I think that's cool. Actually, I thought about something. Now, I asked you like how long it took you to build a business, and like I hear like trading is also a business. So like, how long did it take you to actually like to get good, to get consistent?
Let's see. So it took me like 3 years before I
Wow.
actually was like, okay, I'm seeing some money here. Like this is really, this is really happening. I think by year 3, I was like, okay, I can quit my job. You know, like I can live on this. So, but remember, like it's really mind over matter. You know, you can have a great month and decide I'm going to quit my job. This is going to be great, and then the next month it's like you make all the bad decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So you really just have to put things in perspective. Um, Consistency is key, like you said. Like to be consistently profitable is the gift. It's easy to catch those like one-off things and you get lucky. But am I able to replicate this every day? Because I think that's the key. If you can't replicate it every day, you don't have a good strategy. You really shouldn't be trading. You know?
Okay, I see.
Yeah, there's a strategy with investing. It's a lot less. It's a lot less about your strategy in terms of like the day-to-day consistency, and more about general direction.
Okay, that definitely makes sense. So, like, do you feel like in those 3 years that you had put like a lot of time in learning, or did you like, or was it like, I'm gonna take like 30 minutes out the day, 30 minutes out the day? Like, how'd you do it?
So I I started to see a change when I started to be consistent with practicing and really putting in the time to learn. There's a misconception that it's going to be super easy, that you can learn 10 minutes, you can learn 20 minutes, you can learn 30 minutes, and that's just not true. When I first started, I had that misconception, and I was kind of just taking stabs in the dark. I'd have 10 minutes worth of information, and then I'd think, oh, I'm good. And then I would fail, and then I'd be like, okay, I need a little bit more than 10 minutes of training. And so it's really just a process. Like as you fail, you figure out what to learn next. As you fail, you figure out the next thing. And so it was once I put in the effort to like fail and then, okay, why did I fail? Let's figure this out. Why did I fail? Let's figure that out. That's when I really started getting good.
Okay, I see. So, because like I know a lot of people, they say, like, oh, like you hear like, I guess like financial gurus or like trading gurus, they'll say, they can teach you in like the next 2-3 weeks and you'll be a master at this. Like, what do you think about that?
I think that's simply not true. I think you can get enough that you can start practicing and start trading and actually start making profits fairly quickly. I think most people can get it quickly, for sure. But again, consistency. That consistency takes time and effort to build. I can show you how to trade and place a trade and make a profit in an hour or two. I really can. But when I leave, are you going to be able to do this by yourself over and over again over the next year, every day? That's something that takes you getting disciplined, learning more every time you mess up and staying in there, right? So I think that they blur the lines, by saying that they can make you into a master when they're not really masters. They're learning as they go as well, because we're all learning as we go. It's really about who can give me enough information that I can go out there and get started and at least have the fundamentals to be successful and start my journey. Because that's what we're doing. Mentors give you the tools to start your journey, but you have to do the work. It would be the same as like a weight loss trainer. Like I can teach you in 3 weeks how to be a weight loss master and how to be a fitness guru. No, I can teach you how to lose weight in 3 weeks, right? But you have to take what I gave you and build upon it and continue to do things to then eventually become a master, right? So I think that's the key component that people are missing when they say that.
So it's kind of like that saying, you know, I could lead you to the water, but I can't make you drink it.
Exactly. And that's so important. Like, there are a lot of people, like, which is why I have taught as well, because there are a lot of people who will make claims like, okay, I can teach you how to do this and make money and you won't lose, and like, and that's simply misleading, you know. It's just very misleading. And then there are people who are like, I'm trying to teach you how to do this, but they can't show you where they actually made the money, you know. And they're trying to get you to join these multi-level marketing schemes and all these different things. And it's like, how much have you made? Well, I don't know. Or I can't explain it to you, but come join this group and they'll explain it to you. You know, and there's just a lot out there. And I wanted to cut all that noise out for people who were really genuinely interested in learning.
I know that there's some people who actually don't like sharing the money that they make, but they'll share the percentage that they make, whatever. Like, is that a bad thing?
No, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think you should share at your own comfort level. I mean, I had a point in time where I was sharing screenshots with the exact dollar amount. Sometimes I shared videos with the exact dollar amount that I made. And then, you know, as you kind of learn about life and people and safety, you realize it might not be the best, you know, idea to put how much is in your account out there, because, you know, obviously there are people who target you on social media, and and it becomes a safety and security issue. So I totally understand that. And I myself have like scaled back on how much I share as well, just, you know, for my own safety.
That definitely makes sense. So like, just curious, like, do you feel like it doesn't take you as long as when you first started to look at a chart and make a decision that this is a good opportunity to get in? Or do you still feel like you take the same amount of time?
So as I go further, I'm quicker, definitely quicker at decision making, but there's always a thing that you cannot beat, which is your own human bias. And that's a psychology thing. Like, if I want this to go up and I look at the charts, my bias will make me see that these things point to it going up, right? So it's not really about the time, it's about removing that bias and looking at it objectively.
Okay.
Because as a beginner, even as an intermediate trader or investor, you're looking at this chart and it's going to say what you want it to say if you want to do something bad enough, right?
Yeah.
It's just, how long does it take you to cut through your own crap in your mind and say, okay, this is what's really going on?
I see. Now another thing, like, I know some people, they get it's just so much like some like looking at companies, like how do you, like, okay, this is a good company to get in, this is a good company to buy options from, like, how do you do that? Like, what are some things that you would suggest someone?
So I tell everybody to start with what you know. You know, if you order on Amazon 10 times a week, get you some Amazon. If you order, if you have an Apple phone, you have a MacBook, you have an iMac, you have Apple TV, get some Apple. You know, if you want to own a Tesla, all your friends own a Tesla, like, look into Tesla. It's really just start with the things that you use. If you have 8 kids and you buy diapers, invest or trade a diaper company, or you know, somebody who provides diapers. I think, listen to the news also. Like, you see a lot of buzz around something, chances are there might be some, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? So just pay attention to the news. I would say, like, that's a good place to start. Pay attention to money news, like CNBC's, um, Yahoo Finance, some good little tools. Even CNN will give you some money stuff. I think just keep your ear to the streets. You know, pay attention.
I see. I feel like also, like, I've talked to a couple people who trade. They feel like, I feel like one thing they also said, they've learned more about themselves as they begin to trade more and more. Would you agree with that?
I do, because I think that as you make mistakes, you figure out what you suck at, right? And so you have to learn that if you're going to get better. And as you suck and you figure that out, and you figure out, okay, well, I may not be good at this, but I know I'm good at this. And if you're good at that, you can definitely tweak your strategy so that you can be, you know, you can play more to those strengths. So it does require a really good understanding of self.
Okay, I appreciate that. Also, like before we like get off and close, I was wondering, is there any like suggestions that you would have for someone who's like interested in learning more about like personal finance, trading, investing, or even just like, starting a business?
Yeah. So first, I will say that I know that I hammered on mentors, but I also want to bring home that a lot of times, if you want to start a business, if you want to start investing, if you want to start trading, um, you don't necessarily have to pay someone to start. There are a lot of free resources out there. Definitely like try with Google because Google will, there is a lot of information on Google, but at least you will have a like starting point. At least you'll have a starting point. At least you'll be able to like know, okay, I need to go in this direction. I need to go in this direction. I think like as far as starting a business goes, the small business, hold on one second. Sorry, my kids keep coming in and out. There's a lot of
Totally
that.
fine. Totally fine. You're not the first with kids who I've talked to. So
Okay.
yeah.
So as far as like starting a business, there's a SBA.gov has a lot of resources on there for people who want to start a business. I think there are some great tools like as far as like LLC formation, DBAs, um, and LegalZoom, InkFile. Those are great places to get started because I know when you're first starting, a lot of people start out with a lot of capital. So trying to pay all these fees to get started is difficult. So some cheap ways to do it, definitely like SBA.gov has been super helpful for me. Um, as far as trading and investing goes, well, I'm going to talk about them separately because they're two separate things. Like as far as investing goes, if you're just starting out, you don't know where to start, and you don't want to seek the advice of a financial advisor, because financial advisors kind of like they talk more about retirement and long-term saving goals and those great things. But if you just want to really like hone in on what you can do with stock and ETFs and what you want to pick something that's easy to digest. And so I know that Cash App has an investing tool now. I haven't used it, but I've heard so that it makes things easier for people. If you need a little bit more education, I know that like Robinhood has a free education, like where they have free videos and stuff where you can learn. So if you want to start there, you can. Stash, like I said before, Acorns is good because they allow you to do something called fractional shares. And fractional shares is like, let's say, Amazon right now is like $3,000, over $3,000. And you don't have $3,000 to buy a share, but you want to own a piece of Amazon. You can definitely buy a fractional share with like $100. So it'll give you $100 worth of a share. You still invest, but you don't have to buy the whole thing. So like use those platforms because they allow you to do things that are like, I'm a newbie, I don't know what I'm doing. How do I get started? As far as trading goes, that requires a lot more. And so if you're going to start trading, I definitely recommend just get a mentor and help and start that. Because trying to hack that on your own, it's just there's more risk, right? And so there's no such thing as high reward and low risk. If you're trading, there's higher risk. There's a higher reward for sure, but there's higher risk, which means you need a little bit more. With investing, depending on the investment vehicle, there's a lower risk and lower returns, but you're a little bit safer than you are with trading. So if you're starting out trading, just get yourself a mentor for sure. Get yourself a mentor. We add on Tawt, we add new mentors periodically, and so like right now we're adding and doing beta testing, like I said, but you should still be able to go on shetot.com and you can like enroll for classes there if you want to, and the classes are super affordable. Or if you want to wait until Cyber Monday, you can use the decision tool in the marketplace. But if you can't wait until then, Google, YouTube, those are kind of like my best suggestions.
Okay, and like, so it's called shetot.com, right?
Yes, shetaught.com.
Okay, and it's like do you have like IG or something like someone can follow you?
Oh yeah. I mean, you can find me on Twitter. That Tawt also has its own pages as well. So you can visit She Taught on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. But most people like to follow me personally because I put a lot more information on my own personal pages than I do.
Okay, so you said the Instagram, Twitter, it's She Taught,
Facebook.
and Facebook,
Yes.
She Taught.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Right.
and then okay, all right, cool. Thank you. I appreciate taking the time and just giving us a wealth of knowledge. Really do appreciate that.
For having me. I'll share whatever I can and whatever I know. And I mean, people who follow me on social media, like I'm super responsive because I'm all about giving information.
Okay, appreciate that. Well, this is all for this podcast. Thank you for the time, and hopefully we'll have you back at another time.
Thanks.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Yeah.